like we all were like prepped for this. Look at that.
Yes.
Okay,
I also have 2 other ones I could change into,
we
but
can, we can pause. Like we can totally pause at some point and have like a wardrobe change. Like and I'll be honest, I actually they were prepped for this, and then I got on and felt left out, so I had to go change and put on my boots as well. Um, all right. So first off, I want to like kind of gauge where we're at with this because Gilmore Girls is like my second personality, and I don't know if y'all are on the same like wavelength as I am. So how and when did you first watch Gilmore Girls? Like, was this like a Netflix binge y'all started doing once they got put on there, or did you watch it when it was on the air? Whoever wants to go first is fine.
I tried to watch Gilmore Girls a couple times, like, gosh, decades ago. I definitely didn't watch it when it first came on, but it was just a few years ago in 2022 that I sat down and watched that it really clicked with me, and I was like, "Okay, this is one of the best shows ever," and I can't believe it took me so long to get on board with it.
Well, welcome to the club.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
We get t-shirts, so welcome. Connor, when did you watch it?
I watched it on Netflix and it was probably in 2015, 2016. My wife at the time said, "You would really like this show." And I had only known it as like, I'd see promos for it because I watched like kids WB and stuff. And so I knew what it was. And I was always like, oh, Gilmore Girls because I was 14. And then I watched it and I was like, my God, this is a really well done show. Like, I was just like, this is not what I thought it was. This writing is excellent. The filmmaking is excellent. Just the amount of like actual like craft it takes to pull off dialogue that fast, that complicated, do them in very long takes. Like it's really hard to make a show that way. And it really depends on great performers. And it's just such a great cast and such a well written show. It's very satisfying. It's probably one of my favorite shows too. I think I've watched it all the way through twice.
Twice? Ugh. Like, okay, I feel like this really like sets the tone for how this episode is going to go. Connor, I think we should start off with saying like what your background is, because not as if your answer didn't give like your background as it is.
Sure.
Because we're obviously approaching this from very different perspectives.
Well, so yeah, I have a degree in film and television. So like I studied filmmaking. So I do come at this stuff with a fairly critical eye, although not to the not to the detriment of just simply enjoying fun TV, which is the number one reason to make a thing and to watch a thing is that it's entertaining. But I tend to have a really deeper appreciation. I mean, everyone knows a good show. Like, people have their favorite shows. They may not say that they're like the best shows ever made, but they'll say, "Oh, but I like it." But people know a good show. And so I'm just probably able to talk about every single reason why I love a good show. Um, yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of TV shows. Gilmore Girls is up there for me, for sure. Especially for a network show, which those aren't always the best TV because they're so, they have to appeal to a really broad audience. And so they can't always go places you'd want them to go, or it's just so structured and so driven by like ads and Nielsen ratings and viewership. Which is something that streaming, tackled and does much differently.
Yeah.
But shows like this, and another good one is Parenthood. I mean, really great TV can be made on network and done right. And the shows that these people have made sense, like Bunheads and like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, so good.
Excellent shows. So yeah, and this was the first, and this was a taste of what was to come, and it still holds up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it really says, because we're gonna like dive into like later about exactly what you said of like how we feel if it still holds up, because now we're celebrating 25 years of the show existing, and I am a person that watched it when it was on the air. I was obsessed, like had a weekly routine, my mom and I, and we watched it together, and there was so much. My mom was a single parent. It was just me and my mom for like a while. So like we very much had that like Rory and like Lorelai like dynamic. So which is actually what I think is important to dive into first is just the parent-child dynamics, because obviously we're gonna talk about Lorelai and Rory, but it's so complex with every like parent and child like on the show. So starting off with Lorelai and Rory, like I made the comment that my mom and I were very much like that, but I feel like the similarities were that my mom had me kind of like young and unmarried, and I am a daughter and she's a single mom. But that's kind of where the similarities end. Because they very clearly had two completely different parenting styles. And I know I want to talk a lot about the race dynamics and stuff, but I also think it's just because like my mom was not white. So like there was a totally different like parenting style than Rory, I mean than Lorelai, my mom. And so I something that when I was first watching this show, I was very much like Lorelai is my goal, like as a mom. This is who I want to be. Like this is beautiful, like all the things. And now that I am a mom, I don't think she was that great, actually.
Right.
So I
Right.
kind of want to like, and I know all of us are parents and stuff like as well, but really break down that like best friend, like parenting style. And do you feel that Lorelai was able to do it in a way that she just kind of made her child feel supported and that she was there? Or do you feel that she just really emotionally immature? And I'll start off with you, Hillary, since you are a mom, but then Connor definitely weigh in just as a parent.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the things that helped it click with me later on. Because whenever I first started watching it, I just really didn't see myself reflected in that show at all. Like, I knew nothing about coming from a wealthy background, so didn't have that kind of a close relationship with my mom, so I was like, this is very much just TV. But then I had a daughter, and it's like I do have a more strained relationship with my mom, which has thankfully gotten better. But it is also very much that like kind of power and control struggle, but also wanting to raise my daughter in a completely different way than what I was raised, and having that open dialogue and being able to approach it from a friend standpoint. So one of the things that is so great about the show is the characters are flawed. So while Lorelai very much had so much growing up to do, she still made sure Rory was taken care of. Like Rory never went without, and you could tell that she had those, fond, happy memories growing up. She was very protected. Like she didn't know, you know, just having to go without, basically. She was very well taken care of.
Kind of want to challenge that a little bit of like, I hear what you're saying
Mhm.
of that she was like taken care of in the sense I feel like with clothes on her back, roof over her head, and all of that. But I feel that Lorelai had so much kinda growing up that she needed to do, and she tried to do that, like, through Rory. And so I feel like
Yes.
emotionally, she did not provide for her in the way that she needed. And I feel that because I feel that I am my child's friend, and that was something that was really important to
Mhm.
me. But I also am her parent, and I think you can do both. And I feel
Yeah.
like often, I guess because of the strained relationship that Lorelai had with her own mother, that she wanted to be so far away from that, that she focused so much on that, like, I just want to be your friend and I want you to like me versus like my child kind of parent like right now. And so I appreciate the flawedness of it because I'm so sick of seeing these like pictured like perfect like parents and stuff. And I think that was the whole idea is that Lorelai is supposed to be flawed, which is beautiful.
Mhm.
That was just one thing that I don't necessarily agree that she provided and, like, made sure that Rory was, like, taken care of because
Oh,
that's just
for sure. I feel she was very ill-equipped for the real world. So
mm,
whenever she did actually strike out on her own, that's why she very much crashed and burned, is because she didn't have these examples of healthy relationships or anything like that. So I am absolutely with you there. I guess I more so see it as she did the best she could with what she had.
yeah, I agree.
I think she gave what she didn't get. Like she had a very structured upbringing, and so of course everything that went into her having a bad experience with that, and ultimately her parents like really not being supportive when she got pregnant, and and the age that she was when she became a mother. It's all of those things. Like there's obvious immaturity that comes with just not being an adult yet and having so much responsibility thrust upon you, and with having a chip on your shoulder against stuffy upper crust
Mhm.
parents who are overly involved in your choices and the way your life goes. And so of course teenagers reaction to that is going to be, well, I'm going to do the opposite, and
Mhm.
I'm going to be her best friend. I'm going to be there for her, and I'm going to give her everything she wants, that I can afford to give her, which isn't always a lot. And then, yeah. And then once Rory becomes the age that she was when when she becomes a mom, she starts to, and then of course this whole dynamic with her having to had dinner with her parents every week so that her daughter can go to Chilton, like it all kind of coalesces, and she starts to realize like I may have thrown the baby out with the bathwater a little bit, like going the opposite way of my parents, because they didn't do everything wrong, but that takes maturity to recognize that. And so, of course, that's part of her whole arc in the show, is realizing that there is some value to the way that she was raised, although she mostly had the right instinct, which is, I just know I was miserable and I'm not going to do that. I just don't know what she didn't really have a plan for what she was going to do. She just knew what she didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So it's both. It's like those same skills, like that type of empathy for your kid goes a long way. And then when you do have to start disciplining them and setting boundaries and being the parent, you have not exercised that muscle enough. But then she comes through in a lot of ways, like when they go to the concert and they go to the apartment with those boys and she bursts in and gives them the whole speech.
Yeah.
Like it shows like she's got it in her. She knows what to do. She just is hesitant to do it because she thinks she sounds like her mother, you know?
Well, I think, okay, so let's kind of like go into that of like Lorelai and her mom. Because I
Yeah.
think also part of that maturity and growth is that when I watched this show as 15-year-old, like somewhere like around, I don't know, how old am I now? Like, so like around like 15 years old and stuff. I was like, again, like I said, Lorelai, that's my goal. Like as a mom, always be just like her. Emily is so awful. I would never. And then now as a parent, like I really like I understand Emily. Emily, I think, was probably the most level-headed, like you say, like doing the best with what you have, like person like on that show. And so well, first of all, let's talk about the control versus like independence. Like, because I think that's like obviously the biggest thing between like Lorelai and Emily. And so Lorelai obviously had the view that her mom was just so controlling, like over her life, and just didn't want her to make these own decisions. But I think obviously I'm of the belief that her mom just saw what Lorelai's life was turning into. And I think that like as a parent, because of that love you have for your child, you're trying to do everything you can to make sure their life doesn't turn out a certain way. And so okay, well first let's just like kind of start like with that of like what do you feel in general about the relationship between Lorelai and Emily?
Oh, so I have not been the biggest fan of Emily. don't I didn't really care for her too much. Now, some of the moments between her and Lorelai are some of my favorite moments in this show. It's so heartfelt like that. Their acting is just absolutely incredible. You really feel like the heartache and like the words that they want to say that they can't say. But for the most part, I felt like Emily was just so harsh and critical of Lorelai. Like it really was. She could not do anything right in Emily's eyes. And she was just so like, I don't know, she was so had to be so guarded with her information because her mom would be so vicious about it. And just also the complete disregard that she had for like the staff in her house or just really anybody. It was just that drove me crazy. But I think she has one of the best character arcs and I love how she really grows in A Year in the Life. That was one of the redeeming plot lines in A Year in the Life, I think.
I think with Lorelai and Emily, I spent most of the show not liking Emily. And then you watch it when you're older and you kind of think like, well, yeah, if if my only daughter, if my only child was a mess and had no idea what she wanted to do with her life, had no direction, and I just saw her constantly making potentially awful mistakes, like how would I react? And Emily, of course, I mean, I guess her parents are boomers. I mean, there's a big generation, like she was probably raised by, I think they even talk about this, like they were probably both raised by really strict parents who expected a lot of them. So there's a class thing going on that, and a generational parenting style, and, Gen X kids are different. And, I don't know. I come to see it both ways. Like it's both. Like she was a bit controlling, but she sort of didn't know how to be anything else. She probably didn't have a
For sure.
model for a supportive mother for herself, and didn't know how to, pass that along or break the cycle.
Yeah. I think you see parts of where she's trying, of like, I think, yeah, she did not have an example of like, this is what my mom did. Like, so this is
Yeah.
all I know. Like,
She thinks she's trying.
yeah. And so you have like these little moments where, because yeah, again, like I said, when I first watched it the first time too, I was like, "Ah, this woman's so terrible." But after rewatching it 45 plus times and like being a little older, it's like, okay, I really do see that she just saw so much potential in
Mhm.
Lorelai, and saw that Lorelai is a person that is very guided by her emotions, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but when that's all you go by, I think that was what scared Emily so much, was that like you just do whatever you feel like in the moment with no thought for how it impacts anyone else or your future or anything. And I think that's the huge like contrast with Lorelai and Rory that I don't like, is that Lorelai doesn't think that way for Rory. You know, like she let Rory just make decisions based on how she feels in that moment without this thought and planning for her future. Which is why it's wild to me that how Rory turned on the end and Lorelai is like so shocked. Is like, this is how you raised her though. I do like the Hillary, like you pointed out the thing with like the staff and stuff. That was a thing for me that was really hard, and that still is something that I'm not crazy about with her. But it's also one of those things where, again, people, I'm not saying that it's okay, but I'm also saying I wouldn't have expected
A
anything different.
product of her environment.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she doesn't like, yeah, she sees it as like these people work for me. This is like,
Yeah.
I give them money.
yeah, I know she pays them very well. And so she's like, I'm paying you. Like, so what? So yeah, I think that's one of those things too, where we'll go deeper into like later, but like specifically things about the show that doesn't like hold up well. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was just how things were. Like, and it's so yeah, I didn't have this expectation for her to like,
Can I pose a question real quick about Emily and Lorelai? So
right.
something that I always kind of felt was a part of their dynamic as well was almost some resentment on Emily's end for Lorelai living the life that she wanted and not like caring about what anybody thinks and really going after her dreams and being an independent woman and not having to like rely on a man or basically be like, you know, kind of his arm candy where you show up at the parties, you host the parties, that sort of thing. And it was almost like maybe she wanted to live that kind of life. And again, in A Year in the Life, she kind of does end up living that life in the end that Lorelai does. She goes and does what she wants. And it's beautiful. I love it.
I think there's definitely some resentment. I don't think she wanted Lorelai's life by any means, but
Sure.
the idea of, for her, it was never a question of like how her life is going to turn out.
Yes.
She's going to marry this man. I'm going to run this house. I'm going to be in the DAR. Like this, everything was very much mapped out for her. And so the idea of charting her own path just never like occurred.
Mhm.
It's like she didn't even know that was a possibility. And now
Yes.
seeing her daughter do that is like, oh wow, like I can do that. But like you said, like yeah, that the reboot, like the thing that happened, like you kind of see it. But also there's a birthday party that Lorelai ends up throwing, you know, for Rory at her house, and Emily.
Mhm.
There is like moments in that birthday party where he kind of starts to be like, "Oh, wait, you can do this." Like I did. I think it was like a thing with like, the pizza. She was like eating the pizza without a napkin or like something. And in itself was like this thing where she was like, "Wait, I actually can do this." You see it in like very, very small things. So I definitely, I agree with that. I think there is resentment. Connor, you want to weigh in on that?
No, I agree. I think there's probably a little bit of that in there. I think she even says at the party, like I think she goes upstairs to be by herself, and her and Lorelai are talking, and she's like, "You have so many friends, like you have so many great
Yes.
friends, you
Yeah.
know." And she's just like, "Yeah, it's great."
I think she's like, I think kind of what we're supposed to get from, and again, I didn't realize this until I was like way older. I think all of the characters on Gilmore Girls, that we're supposed to see all of them as like you're pulling pieces from each of them. You know,
Yes.
there's character that is just totally horrible, except for Dean. That you're supposed to, again, what you kind of said in the beginning about all these people are flawed. And so I love the way that like so many people I think started off in like maybe the first like season as supposed to be your villains, which I think Emily was meant to be a villain. And
Mhm.
as like the show progresses, they start to really like humanize her. And
Yeah, there's no true villain.
in all, like,
Yeah.
listen, I really hate Dean. So
Except Taylor. Maybe Taylor.
I like Taylor more than Dean.
Oh no.
Poor Taylor's just trying to run the town. He
I
just
know, and everyone gives him a hard time. Like I like Taylor. Like Yeah, I think there is, like, so much beauty, and that's, like, a whole theme of the show, of that there people aren't just bad, like, they're
Yeah.
complicated, and they're products of their environment, and there's all these things that play into it, and so I love that because I think it's one of the few shows where, like, there isn't a clear villain, like, at all,
Mhm.
except for Dean. Um Also, like, still kinda, like, tying along the, like, parenting thing, thinking about Emily and Richard, of how even their parenting style was, like, so, so different. Like, do you feel like there are certain moments where I felt like Emily felt very caught up in, like, Richard and who she was supposed to be because of Richard, and that really, like, determined her parenting style, like, of Lorelai. But then you have these moments, like, when Rory and her dad, where they spent the day together on the golf course and all these things, and you see where, okay, no, actually, maybe it's Emily that, like, pulls the strings more so than, like, Richard. Do y'all have opinions on, like, they, or do you feel like they were the same? They just, like, did things a little differently, but they were ultimately the same type of parent?
I feel like I feel like Emily drove the parenting mostly. I think
Mhm.
that yeah, I think just she did everything. I think Richard probably just had a traditional, like I'm going to work and I'm going to focus on my job and the firm or wherever he worked and read the newspaper and I'll weigh in on big decisions, but I don't want to be bothered with the day to day. And it's a daughter anyway, so what am I supposed to do? And right, like, well, how do I what?
You can
So
turn it on.
exactly. So he was just. I don't think that was a joint effort. I think like he does in the show, like it's mostly Emily meddling in things and wanting details, and it's Richard who is just kind of tuned out for most of it until he hears something that he would like to have an opinion on.
Yeah, I don't love Emily, but I love Emily and Richard together.
So good.
I will say that there's no one else that could have been with either one of them, and so I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or not. I think what's hard though with Richard for me, and again, I think it's a class dynamic, it's the age, it's the time, it's all of those things. I don't think there's any denying that, like, Richard genuinely loves Lorelai. And he's,
Yes.
like, very
Yes.
proud of her intelligence, like the way finally he starts, like, kind of complimenting her on, like, the inn, and, like, saying how, like, she's actually this amazing businesswoman. And I think it was just hard for him to ever actually show that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He probably wasn't taught how to.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
don't think he was ever taught that. So that love is always there, but I think what he didn't know, like I said, he didn't know how to show these things. And so I think he, like, fell to this thing of being silent and being distant. And I think that I don't know which one is worse of that. Like, Emily, she's so outspoken about her judgment and all these things that she's feeling. Whereas I feel like Richard just doesn't say anything. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
times, like with a kid, that even as an adult, she's still this child, like, she's craving this love. Like, that silence and that distance can be, like, almost as hurtful as the person
Mhm.
always, like, talking and always saying something, even if it is, like, hurtful.
Absolutely.
And I think that, like, so much of, I know we said that, like, Emily kinda does it too. I don't know, I'm on the fence about if Emily was really, like, driving this train. I think they, like, you try to make it seem like she was the one, like, controlling it, but I think Emily formed herself into this person that's supposed to be with Richard. Like,
Mhm.
that's always her goal, to be, like, with the Richard. So I think she made herself the person that's supposed to be with Richard. So I kinda give her, like, a little more, like, grace. And but I do think that Richard was kind of the quiet, like, middle ground, but I don't necessarily think it was, like, better or worse than, like, Emily.
Yeah.
All right. Any other, like, parent child dynamics? Like, I don't want to talk about Lane and Kim because I want to, like, have, I think that
Oh, for sure.
deeper, like, dive. There's so much at play in that. But yeah, I don't think any other parents are really there enough to, like, have, like, full opinions, like, on the.
No, those were the main ones for sure.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive into, I've already named that I already hate Dean. So about the romantic relationships. And so obviously, let's start off focusing, like, on Rory. So we have Dean, Jess, and Logan. Obviously, starting off, I think every girl was Team Jess. Like, watching it. Well, you watched it a little later, like, Hilary, but, like, watching it when it was first on, like, Jess was like because I mean, also Milo Ventimiglia is perfect, like as a real person. So on the show, love Jess, was obsessed. Like, how do you not see that Jess is who you're supposed to be with? And then that definitely shifted for me. Like once I became an adult and stuff on my own, it's just like, no, Logan is the better choice. Dean was never an option for me. So Connor, who are you?
Uh, I'm fuzzy on my memories of Logan all the way. For the longest time, it was Jess for me because Dean was obviously like they're all written by the same people, so there's going to be some chemistry in how they talk, you know. But like it was clear that like Rory is going to be more drawn to someone who's smarter and who's more of a deep thinker and more worldly in that way, and has somewhat of a contempt for norms. She would find that interesting and does. Um, God, yeah, Logan. I mean, in the notes here, we have class aspiration for Logan. And like, I guess I don't connect with that with Rory because I never felt that she, obviously, until she does, I never felt that that was something that she would ever be interested in. And so I felt like of the three that like Jess was always felt like the true, like the truest partner of the three for her in terms of what she wants and needs out of life.
See, and I think Jess is what she wants, and that is what I would have wanted. And I think what she needed was Logan. Like, and I think the reason she rebelled from Logan so much was because of like this whole idea of the class aspirations and how he's everything that her mom ran away from. But like, I
Yeah,
also think that Logan was so caught up in this life too of like, this is what I've been told that I'm supposed to do and who I'm supposed to be. And he really, towards the end, starts to grow into his own person. And I
yeah.
felt like they could have had this very nice, stable life together that wasn't full of like chaos. All
Sure.
right, Hilary, if you say Dean, like we will.
No, you're off the call.
Right now.
I am team none of them. I did not think any of them were right for her. I did think Jess in A Year in a Life was perfect for her.
Yeah.
100%. Yes, in game, Jess. But no, like honestly, all of them, I was just like, they aren't right. And also, it's Gilmore Girls, no boys allowed. Like,
Yeah.
I like this strong female. Like, I don't need a man, and that's how Lorelai was for so much of the show. Is like she really didn't need anybody. She had them come and go, but like she did totally fine on her own. And I think like Lori, I not Lori, Rory, I would have loved to see her just not be as concerned with relationships and like, you know.
Well, see, I think that's the problem, though. I think because Lorelai was so ingraining in her, like, oh, you don't need a man or whatever and stuff. That is why Rory was so obsessed with it. And so
Yeah.
I think that like totally backfires. Of I think I don't like this idea that you can't be this strong, independent woman and still desire and be in a healthy relationship.
Sure.
One that I don't think Gilmore Girls like did very well. Because like when either one of them were in a relationship, it's just like I can't do anything now. I'm so
Yeah.
helpless. I like whatever. It's like you don't have to lose who you are because you're in a relationship. And so I hate
Yes.
the way they did
You
that.
don't?
Well, I mean, I'm divorced, so I don't really know what the person
Oh,
should be.
oh my God.
I don't know if like I don't even know if all three of us should be the one to.
We're probably not the experts. I think that the character, I think that Lorelai especially, but and Rory too, but Lorelai especially was always the most interesting when she wasn't with somebody. Like the way she was written, her storyline, like what she was doing. Like I was very invested in the I'm gonna open my own inn. I was like, yeah. So every time that like the story was, hey, in this episode we're focusing on the inn, I was like, oh sweet. Like I'm
Yeah.
very interested in every step of building this business for some reason. I want it so bad for her. And then someone pops in and distracts her, and I'm like, damn it.
And that was the thing. It was like as soon as
Go
like
away.
like she forgets everything else that's like going on in her life and just like falls apart. And I wish we would have gotten to see like that balance of
But
that.
Lorelai's immature. She's emotionally stunted.
Yeah.
And you know, she should be mature enough at that age to go, hey, I'm trying to build a business. But
Yeah.
she's just like,
It's not.
I never really grew up, so let's go out on a date. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's clear. And like I said with her parenting, and then it's also clear in like how she is like in relationships. And I think what was really hard for me, like, again, with, like, with the Logan thing. The reason I went more towards him, because I also could be team nobody also.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's this perfect fit, but I think if I had to choose one, like, in the end, it would have been Logan, just because, and this is not, like, if we just talk about the series when, like,
Yes.
what happens later, like,
Yes.
because of Jess, the same reason I didn't like Luke, which we'll get into. Of like, I don't like this idea. Okay, I'm sorry, Connor. I know you're like Luke reincarnated. Like, but like, I think it is so old, this trope of that a man likes a woman and he's just going to never tell her and just kind of gleam in the background, and all of a sudden she's just supposed to know, and like she's the bad guy because she didn't like know how you felt. And it's like, man up, and like have this conversation. Like I hate, and that was kind of how it was with Jess for so long, where he pretended not to like her. He was mean. He did all these things. And it's like,
Yeah.
you like to just be with her. Just tell her. Like, this is so old. And I feel like Logan was the one that, like, consistently showed her that, like, this is what I want, and that, like, and I think with, we're just gonna act like Dean didn't exist. So we're just not gonna talk. He was not there. That was a this was like Mandela effect. It didn't actually happen.
His face is all garbled like those pictures in The Ring.
But it's been, I feel like with Jess, that was like even her just interested in just a little bit. To me, that was just so her channeling Lorelai of like wanting this whole rebellion, and like this is exactly the person that no one would ever want me to be with, so that's why I'm going to try to like force this thing to work. And then like Logan represented what she felt was everything that her family and grandparents wanted her to be with, so that's why she like ran away from that. And I think that goes back to that emotional immaturity that Lorelai really put on her, that she was not able to see that, like, you know what, like everything that I have been groomed into is not so terrible. I don't have to completely run away from like everything. And like, I guess if we're gonna act like Dean existed for 5 seconds, like the issue of Dean was that, like kind of what you said, I don't get it. I don't get why they ever would have. It just did not make sense. Like he didn't match her on any
Oh.
level, anything.
First
Like,
boyfriend.
Yeah, yeah,
know.
absolutely. It's that first love. It's so immature and new, and it was just like, oh hey, there's this boy standing right in front of me, and I've
Yeah.
never really noticed
He's cute
boys,
and
and now I
tall.
am. Yeah.
His name is Dean.
he was not cute. He was not like, and I think for me, actually, where Rory really started to fall apart for me, and like I mean, I also was just this person. I just thought Rory sucked throughout the entire thing. She was probably my least favorite character. Like, but when she slept with Dean,
Oh
like,
my god.
that was very much like, there was no coming back from that for me. And I guess
No, absolutely not.
just the how she handled it afterwards.
Mhm.
And lack of guilt, the lack of like anything, I was like, oh, there's that entitlement.
Yeah.
There it is. And this is going to be a continuous arc for you throughout the entire thing. Is a sense of entitlement that you have. But yeah, that's all. We're right now, we're just gonna act like Dean didn't exist. So let's talk about Lorelai for a bit. I already said how I felt about Luke. That
Yeah.
and then also I don't like this idea that we always get forced on with every book, every show, and everything, that a man and a woman just can't be really good friends. Like there
Yeah.
has to be some attraction from like one of them. And I think they could have had such a beautiful, solid relationship, and we weren't really allowed to see that, because though we always saw them being friends, there was always that underlying thing of that we know Luke has feelings for her. And like she did also to an extent, but like his feelings were always there. So that overshadowed like any friendship. All right, Luke Jr. How do you how do you feel about Luke and Lorelai?
I mean, obviously, Luke is my spirit animal. So, like, of course, like he's set up to be the main love interest. So the game's a little bit rigged, but I don't know. So it's hard to say, but by design, I of course was shipping that whole relationship. And then whenever it was, falling apart, I was like, oh, this hurts me inside. So I was very much riding that wave of the two of them. For a lot of, I mean, of course, like I sort of saw myself in this character, like the most. Like everyone's got a character on a show they probably latch onto. And for a lot of the men watching, it's probably Luke, like
Hmm.
just the everyman, you know, disgruntled for no reason person, seems to appreciate the town he lives in, but also resent it at the same time. It's great. So I don't know. I just more than anyone, like I most saw that as like the relationship that was the best match for her, considering Luke is very much a grown up,
Yeah.
and pushes and models and encourages her, in that way, and really doesn't want anything from her. Well, okay, let's see, go ahead.
But did he really not want anything from her? I think that was what was hard because all the things you named, I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, he wanted to be with her. So it felt like,
I see what you mean. You mean like just as opposed to being content with the friendship.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because, like, I mean, he probably known her for a really long, obviously had known her for a really long time. So maybe it built, maybe the friendship built. I felt like there was something there, but I also felt like he was very much not going to like elbow his way in to like going out of his way to ask her out, probably for that reason. It's like I'm part of your life in a very strong way already. I
But
don't know.
he
Go
could
ahead.
have manned up and just did it instead of sulking in the background and be like, oh, poor me, every time she kisses someone else. Wee, wee, wee.
I think he probably came. The generous way to say that same thing is that he probably maybe didn't quite realize how strongly he felt until he witnessed enough other guys in the place
Yeah,
where he
it took a
wanted to
while
be.
for him to have that realization when he what was it? When did he? Because I love that moment when it's like, who are you thinking about right now? I think when he's listening to the tapes or something, and it's like, who are you thinking about right now? And he's like, he has that look on his face, and it's like, clearly it's
Like,
Lorelai.
oh, Lorelai. I'm shocking myself. It's Lorelai.
It's just like, yeah, like, did it really take him that long to figure out? Like, he knew, and it was just, it's like, I don't know if y'all watched Dawson's Creek, but it feels like the Dawson and like Joey thing of like, they always wait until it's too late. You had all
Yeah.
this time, and then now that I'm like with someone else, you're like, oh, I have these feelings. Like,
Yeah, I also think that he probably, this is my read into it, he probably for a while like saw her screwing up enough to where he thought she's kind of a mess. Like she's cute and she's fun to talk to, but do I want to be with this person? And so it probably maybe there was growth on her side that he finally was starting to recognize and became more interested. I don't know.
see, that makes more sense to me
Yeah.
than him not recognizing it.
Because I can see him not bothering with Lorelai on a personal level at all. Like, like it's cool that you come to my store and we're friends and like I'll help you with stuff. And like I see sides of you when we are together that shows you have more depth than you present to the world. But like there's enough shallow or like strange or frustrating interactions for him where it's like, yeah, friends is good. I'll be just your friend. I can't deal with this I can't handle you in large doses,
Yeah.
until he realizes he
Simple life,
can and
you
he would
know,
like
like
to.
you had this very simple, like no drama, like type life. And I feel that
Luke had the best life.
a level of yeah, of chaos to it that it was like beyond being like, oh, this is kind of fun, you made things interesting. It's like, no, like this is stressful. Like, and I don't know that I want
Yeah.
like all of that. So I can
He's high strung enough,
yeah, he doesn't
and
need
so for him to take on a relationship with Lorelai, it's like that's a big step for him because it's like, yeah, I'm inviting much chaos into my personal routine.
yeah.
Luke had the perfect like single guy. He owns his own diner. He lives above it.
Yeah.
And with lots more square footage than he has any right to have with how much money he probably makes, small town, wears a hat. It's great.
Especially because the two main people never paid for anything ever. So
Yeah, he is underwater in coffee.
like, okay, so that's like with Luke, but like, okay, how do we feel about Max and Christopher? Are we all on the same page about Christopher? Hilary, how do you feel about Christopher?
Despise Christopher.
All right, good answer.
I do not like him at all. I very much was Luke and Lorelai from the very beginning because it took me way too long to learn that you can have like a romantic relationship with your best friend. That's the best kind of relationship to have. is with your best friend. And it doesn't have to be like, ooh, the mean business guy who's going to sell the farm and you have to raise enough money and then you fall in love and then the snow starts to fall. Like, I love that they had that relationship and that they knew each other so well so that by the time they got together, it fit. It was natural. It was perfect. They didn't have to force it like she did with literally every other single guy.
Oh my gosh, this is like a therapy session. Because like I think that's why I view it so differently and I'm so like anti her and Luke is because I struggle with that idea of like being best friends with someone and then your relationship. I'm very much like, no, this is a separate thing. You can have amazing friendships with someone and then your relationship is something totally different. Why would you want to like mix the two? But I guess like I need to be in therapy. So
we all do. It's fine.
We're just broken inside.
Her and Christopher should have had that friendship. That's what should have remained so that they could have that good, healthy co-parenting relationship with Rory, and she didn't have to have that whiplash of them getting back together and breaking up, and then all of a sudden they're married, and then they're divorcing, and that was a lot.
I don't think they ever should have been friends. I think they should have just stuck with like a decent co-parenting relationship because I think for them going back to that first love type thing, I don't think they ever could have really been friends. Like it was all like too much there. And I think like, because I feel like every time they tried to be friends, that was when things like crossed the line. They didn't know how to do that.
That's true. That's true.
So
emotionally mature adults.
Max.
No, oh my gosh. So I'm actually like just finishing that up. The episode I'm on right now, her and Rory just hit the road because she's not going to marry Max because he was such an a-hole to her at the end when he yelled at her and was like, you have to think about somebody other than yourself, which I mean, he was not wrong. He was not wrong, but he was such a jerk about it. And it's just, it wasn't right. And it's like, as soon as he came into the picture, he was very much like, well, what is my role with Rory? And it's like, you don't really have much of a role. Like she's going off to college in like 2 years. What are you wanting to do?
I can see that. I think that with a little couples counseling, they could have communication together because I totally hear that. I think the reason I liked Max so much was that I think he said a lot of things that no one has said to Lorelai that she needed to hear. I think Lorelai is a very self-centered person. For so long, like even like with Rory, it was very much like, this is my child. Even when it came to like Christopher, like I feel like a lot of times she didn't even let him like be the bio like that. And I think like Lorelai, and again, it goes from that independence. So I'm not like totally like faulting that. She's so used to it just being her. So she makes all the decisions about her life. She makes all the decisions about Rory that I don't think she knows how. And then I feel like with Luke was very much in that role of like just letting her lead. So have someone else come in that almost wants to kind of be your equal and make decisions together. I don't think she knew how to do that. And I think that was why I liked Max so much because I think that would have pushed her out of this like hyper independence and shown that like someone like you can be a team together. Like, so yeah, I liked Max, but I also kind of with this was also, it can also be team nobody. I had to pick one. I think it was Max. So we've got Max and 2 Lukes, but we're all in agreement that is just not Christopher. So
No,
yes,
100%.
No.
We all agree that it was not Dean. All right. So we've talked about how problematic like everyone, and then we agreed that Emily and Richard, they, for the time and who they were, they had a relationship that worked. Is it a relationship that like I desired? No, but like I think it worked for them.
It worked.
But in terms of other healthy relationships, okay, so Suki and Jackson.
I love Suki and Jackson.
I love Suki and Jackson, but I will never forgive the vasectomy storyline where he lied to Suki about that. That was infuriating. Yes. Oh, that made me so mad. So in terms of who has the healthiest relationship on the show, hands down, Babette and Maury.
That's good. You're right.
I didn't even like consider that. Okay.
They are the best. They are goals. I love them.
You didn't consider it because there's not enough drama coming from them that you forget they exist as characters.
I know, exactly. I was just like, oh yeah, they were like, so.
Yeah.
They were so happy. Like they had it all figured out, man.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
All right. So we've kind of touched on this like a little bit throughout, but I kind of want to talk about what was ahead of its time and what did not age well at all. And I feel like that's a good way to kind of like wrap this up. So, Connor, you kind of mentioned in the beginning about a lot of the fast talking roles. Like that was something in early 2000s, like TV, that was just very uncommon. Like that was just like not a thing that like happened. And obviously, women leading like these very like complex roles, like that was very much ahead of its time. The class critique, I don't think they went deep enough like into it. The fact that that was a keeping in mind this is 25 years ago.
Network TV.
Yeah, it was like the fact that that conversation was even happening was wow.
Yeah, they're like, we can't piss off rich people. We need their money for these
I was
ads.
like,
So
they have to keep the show on the air, so they
yeah,
just like scratch the surface a little bit, but like yeah, showing the tensions between like the private and public school, and like obviously like Lorelai struggling with money and stuff. Even though
yeah.
I think it was not a very realistic struggle with money, because I was like, girl, every time they talked about struggling with money and seeing like their life, I was like, I don't
You
think
have a large house.
I know that house. I was just like, how are you struggling? Which is this inn that isn't even open yet, like making that like
You own an okay car in a walkable town.
Yeah, yeah.
is
I
that
think one of my favorite storylines that kind of started to scratch the surface of it a little bit, that kind of showed like that, very real contrast, is whenever Lorelai and Chris are together and he comes with her to like the knitting marathon that they're doing, and she's like explaining to him why they're doing the knitting marathon to raise money for something, and he
yeah.
goes and writes the check, and everybody's like, okay, well, I guess it's over. And it's like, not everything has to have money thrown at it. That's not what it's all about. It's about community and showing up for each other. And, money is not everything.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to just the product of their environment, because in Christopher's head, it was like, okay, I'm doing this great thing. I can write this check and like y'all don't have to knit. But for them, it was like, this was fun.
I like knitting.
The activity was like, I like knitting. We like being together. And yeah, again, that just didn't ever like cross his mind. I think also tie into like the money in class, because this kind of goes into it, but like showing like a single mom and like chosen family, like that was 25 years ago, was not something that would have been shown in a positive light, but like in a light where like, I mean, I don't even want to say positive, just a realistic light.
Mhm.
Like it's not the end of your life. You're not like Scarlet Letter because you're like a single mom, but it also is not, it's difficult, it's hard. And that is where the chosen family like really comes in. If that this is her tribe, this is her community of people that like support her and her kiddo. And I don't think that was something that was like ever really shown in that time. And then also for me, neurodivergence. Like I didn't
Yeah.
really pick up on this until like many rewatches later. Of like,
Yes.
this girl is totally on the spectrum. Like very much on the spectrum. And she also talks about anxiety and all these things, but also I'm like, oh, this is the first time autism was like really on TV. And this is obviously not to say autism didn't exist like back then, but I don't think we had the language for that.
Mhm.
But that was such a prime example to me of like, this is not this, people think this is a new thing we've invented. I'm like, this person clearly has this and we just didn't know what to call it. And
Yeah.
now we like know what to call it. What are some other things y'all felt were just totally ahead of its time?
You made some really, really great
Yeah.
points. I agree with all of that 100%. And just so much of the characters, there was so much variety in them, and they all like presented in different ways where, there really, it didn't seem like there were really too many neurotypical people in the show. Like it's just, it
No,
was such a diverse group of people.
that's what I kept thinking. Is like every one of these characters is neurodiverse somehow. I mean,
Yeah.
Lorelai's definitely got ADHD. Just the way everyone talks, it's just like it, whether it's intended or not. It's like, God, you all have such encyclopedic knowledge of your chosen
Yeah.
interests. Kurt's on the spectrum.
Oh,
Taylor is. Everyone is. It's like if scientists created ADHD inside of a dome and they called it Stars Hollow.
It's like Stars Hollow.
Right. It's just it's they dropped a bomb there and everyone became ADHD. It's in the water.
It's in the coffee.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
coffee.
Very much. Like And maybe that's for me, like, what made Gilmore Girls so comforting was that it was all these, like, neurodivergent people just, like, living their lives and
Yeah.
functioning, like, with this, and I think that was very, very beautiful to see. I think even though, like, I named of, like, the class critique and stuff being something that was very much ahead of its time, sometimes for me, like, that was what was kinda suffocating about the show. That sometimes
Mhm.
felt like that just became the storyline because they had nothing else, like, talk about. Like, we said with Emily and, like, Richard and, like, even their relationship and stuff, like, with Lorelai, it could have gone so much deeper, like, how we talked about how these are generational things, and I feel like so many of their issues, they just chalked up to, like, "Oh, it's because they're rich and we're poor." Also, I don't think they understood what poor means. There was no one on that show that was poor.
Right, right.
So, it just felt so, like, ugh, sometimes that I don't think we have to keep talking about.
I think that that's one of the things the missed opportunities of the Year in the Life. I mean, because I really liked that, but I also felt like it was unsatisfying because
Mhm.
it left too much to like the way it ends. We don't have to talk about this specifically, but like the way it ends is very like cliffhangery, and you sort of go. There was a lot of googling by everyone at the time, like, so when's the next one coming? And they're like, oh,
Mhm.
we're not making another one. I'm like, why? Because like not only with on a streamer, like I said, you can explore, like this is the time, especially when you do like legacy sequels and long awaited sequels to things, you can then address things in the original show that you probably couldn't have before, and you can back explain like things like undiagnosed neurodivergence and class struggles, and you can do it in a more mature and modern way than the show in retrospect does. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like examples. I mean, like Justified had its City Primeval sort of continuation recently. I think they're about to make a Scrubs again. There's plenty of shows that are kind of like coming back, sort of, because that's the thing now. But like, if you do that, you want to. One thing that we talk about all the time, a friend and I, is that they don't let characters. This is mostly about movies. TV's obviously better at this. Not enough stories allow characters to age and grow.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best tools in your toolbox. If you're going to bring back a show 20 years later, you're going to have all these actors come back. It's like, well, they obviously it's been 20 years. They look different. Their performances are going to be different. The people, they should be different. They should be different and have new problems and have not struggle with old problems anymore. Like,
Tweets. Yeah.
right, like it should be, there should be a sense of, okay, these real people have aged and they're still flawed, but not in the same ways that we're used to. We don't have to retread anything. And I think that if they were to announce, hey, we are going to make one more like 4-part Year in the Life, I'd be like, great. I really hope that you wrap some stuff up and you also give us, some, unexpected nuggets of deep truth.
And I think, like, where they struggled with that was because they felt, I mean, because this show went on for so long and it was such a
Yeah.
favorite, and they're like, "Oh, people are so attached to these characters, so we have to, like, keep it the same or people are not gonna be interested." And I think
Yep.
it's valid of, like, what you said of that, like, no, so many of us that grew up, like, loving this show, like, we have grown, so we expect
Yeah.
these characters
Yep.
to, like, grow, and yeah, I was very disappointed, like, in that. So let's actually just get into that of like the ending of the show in general and then now like with the reboot that happened. So obviously like you said for the end of life you didn't feel like it was satisfying, like I didn't feel like it was satisfying either. Like, was I happy that like yay we're getting something? I was very excited about it, and then I was kind of let down by it. Do you feel like Hillary, like I'll like ask you this of like, well, first off, okay, the actual ending of the show itself. So before a year in the life. By the end of that, do you feel that Rory had like learned anything and she'd grown like at that point? Or did you just feel like she was Lori, but worse? I mean
I
Lorelai.
think she was on the verge of doing something really great. I
Mm,
liked how the show ended. I liked that she was about to go off on her own and really be separated from, like, all of the worlds that she has known. So I was really, really excited for her to go and do that.
yeah.
I won't say that she had grown a ton, but she had improved. I feel like she had learned from her mistakes, and she was ready to take what she learned into the world and apply it. So I won't say I was incredibly disappointed because when I first watched A Year in the Life, I was in denial that it wasn't that great. I was like, I'm just so happy that there's a continuation because I love the show so much. But the
Mhm.
more I thought about it, I'm like, no, they did those characters so dirty. Like, they made Luke a total moron. Like, Rory had like done a complete like 180 and gone back to like old BS. It's like, really, we're still doing this. So it was disappointing, but I also refuse to believe that they're not going to do another one. Like, I know they said it, but they're going to do something. We have to see Luke and Lorelai as grandparents. Or, you know, if they did like a prequel show, I would love to see like Stars Hollow the early years of like Lorelai and Suki meeting and Rory and Lane's early friendship. And like when she first goes into the diner and meets Luke, like that's the stuff I know it would be hard because, you know, they're a lot older now, but I would love to see something like that. But I would also love to see them as grandparents and see what happens with, you know, the book and everything like that.
I feel that with a lot of shows that people try, like the writers, they just don't want this moneymaker to end. And so they drag it out for so long and they end up ruining the show. And
Hmm.
I am afraid of that. And I don't want that to happen like with this show. But I feel like there are so many unanswered things that
Yes,
we actually probably could with this. Like even just form
absolutely.
to like wrap like things up again.
We
I
need a redemption for a year in the life. Like that is
I think
what
so.
like we're gonna use this cash cow and it really didn't have the thought that went into it that it should have. So now it's like, okay, turn it around. Like let's see these characters, you know, fully evolved. Let's see where they're at now.
Well,
Lane deserves a better ending.
there was a
Yes.
there was like I think oh my god, what's her name? Lauren Graham had put up this picture of like her and what's his face who plays Luke who and they were like in costume and they were in the diner and it was like they were like, oh, it's coming soon, and we were all like, what is it? And it was
Oh, it's
a
a Walmart
Walmart
commercial.
commercial.
I know.
And it was like, there's not a Walmart in Stars Hollow, and I don't want there to be.
Or would
It
never.
was
Yeah, Taylor would
delivered.
never allow this. And it's over his dead body. And so so not only it was just like, oh, it seems kind of weird and not Stars Hollowy, it's like, hey, how about you shoot another show?
Yeah.
I don't care about
I was
a
excited for that
Walmart
commercial
commercial.
though. I was.
I mean, I watched it so many times, but
I'm personally averse to prequels because I just I'm never interested in going to early years almost ever, although I've been wrong before, but I I really want them to do more because you've got all these actors, they all love the show.
Mhm.
I'm sure the Paladinos would want to do it again, and you know it'd be really easy to do it for Netflix or whoever again. I just think that the last season of like the original show was without them. Dan and Amy were not like
yeah,
they left the show, and so like that's part of why it kind of
West
ended after that season. It was just like, well, and so which is probably part of why they wanted to do Year in the Life anyways. But to me, it's like, yeah, there's lots more you could still do, and you don't have to give us a lot. Just do it right, you know.
yeah. I
Give
think
us a Christmas special.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
That's it. That's all we need.
I'd take a movie at this point, Downton Abbey style.
I mean, I will take anything. Like I said,
Yeah.
Lane needs a redemption. Like I am so upset.
She does. And Dave should have been in game for her. I hate that she ended up with Zach. I hate that. He was
We
such a doofus.
we all do. I am so, and I think, which I don't want to go like 2 and 2 because I don't. We need to like wrap this up, but it is very bothersome that the person of color like on the show they didn't develop her character more. I
Yeah.
don't the way like it was portrayed with her mom instead of really exploring culture. I don't like this whole, like just this whole like strict Asian mom stereotype, like, and so Lane has to rebel and all these, like, it's so old, and I feel like they could have done so much with that, and they
Yeah.
did. So that was one thing that didn't really like age well for me, is I didn't
Absolutely.
that at all. But I mean, yeah, like maybe I don't know, maybe they're gonna see this episode and be like, you know what, those kids are right. So since that, we're gonna give them 4 more episodes, like because of this. Um, but all right, so to end, let's do a coffee rating. So from 0 to 10 cups of coffee, how well do you feel that Gilmore Girls holds up today overall?
I'm gonna go. Oh, holds up in general. I
Yeah.
mean, 7 out of 10. Yeah,
That I was gonna do 7 cups of coffee.
I enjoy it more cups of coffee than it holds up.
Yeah.
So like I
Yes.
like the show as like an 8.5 out of 10, but
Mm.
holds up. It's like, yeah, there's 7.
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
definitely say 7 as well. I think I am very impressed by how I can't think of anything else that 25 years later that I'm watching and I'm not like, ugh, like cringing, So I think that says a lot for a show. So I say
For
7.
sure.
You got Hillary.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. How much I love it, full 10 cups. Like it's my life. Like I can watch it forever and ever. It's gonna be like The Office for me, basically. Just
Yep.
throwing that into the mix. But no, I would say, definitely 7, 7.5, maybe an 8, just because I like it so much.
Amazing. Well, thank y'all for indulging me in this little like 25-year anniversary like special. I love the show so much. Like I said, it brings me so much comfort. It is my signal for fall that like every single fall, like I immediately start like rewatching the whole thing. And so it's great nostalgia for me. So I appreciate y'all indulging me and having this conversation.
No, thank you. This was so much fun. Again, like I could spend so long talking about this. So if you ever want to do another one, you just let me know.
Yeah, we might have to deep dive. We may do a whole rewatch and like critique every episode
Let's do it.
down.
Sounds
All
good.
right, y'all.
Good night.
Halito and salam, y'all. Asada here, single mama, community organizer, entrepreneur, and your resident elder emo. For so long, I chased the perfect outcome and missed the magic in the mess until one day, life just kind of hit me with a holy reality check. Now, I'm learning to find beauty in chaos, those dirt under your fingernail moments. And that's what Watching the Bloom is about, embracing growth one petal at a time. If today's episode resonated with you, hit subscribe on your favorite platforms, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's blooming too. You can keep up with me on all social media at Asada Blooms and on my website at asadablooms.com. I'll see y'all next time as we dig deeper, grow together, and bloom beautifully, mess and all.